Excellent. Thanks, Ashley. Really appreciate it. Thanks everybody, to all our guests for joining today, our Punch Alert. And what we're talking about here is, wow, I can't believe it's after July 4th, and the races politically here in the United States obviously are starting to get underway. Our friends here, since we're here in Charlotte, South Carolinians have gotten off to a fast start in regards to the DNC in regards to having their candidates. So there's certainly a lot of press going on about the upcoming RNC. So what we're here to do is, we're Punch Alert. We're all about safety and safety awareness, and just making sure that our community and our clients are best prepared for any safety situation. So with that, we're going to talk here today. Let me see if I'm able to change my slide. What we're going to talk about today. But first, just a disclaimer for everybody here on the call. We here at Punch Alert, this is not a political affiliation. Really, our purpose is all about safety, right? And events, certain events, especially national events like this, give off a safety awareness, and that's what we're here today, is really just to educate our friends and our business partners, our customers, and folks who might be interested in learning more about safety. Hopefully today you're able to have these takeaways of having some safety awareness that can help you best prepare not only yourself as an individual, but hopefully you and your business and your family, which is most important to all, right, when it comes to safety. So what is this webinar about? Well, President Trump, with the re-election coming up, next August, we'll be here in Charlotte. This will be the second time that the Queen City, which is for those who aren't in Charlotte, which is the nickname for Charlotte here, is the Queen City. But as we were preparing for another great event and hosting a national convention, we're super excited because all of our friends that get to visit us here in Charlotte, they end up staying, and they like it. So I've actually had friends and family stay and move here. So Charlotte is definitely a very welcoming city, and very, very vibrant as we're growing. So we're super excited about that. For those that don't know about Charlotte, just some history lessons on who we are and where we are at. We are the largest city within North Carolina. The state capital is Raleigh. So if you were going to get in your car, it's roughly about 3-hour drive from us. But we are in the heart. We are right on the border of South Carolina. And as statistically shows through the census, right, you're looking at, hey, we're the 16th largest city in the United States. Very, very fast growing, and we're super excited. Hey, this is the second time we're hosting a national convention within, I believe, like 10 years. So certainly it's a great thing for Charlotte, our recognition, our city, and we're growing, and that just kind of, I think, shows who Charlotte really is, right? We're a very welcoming city, and we're here for growth and to help to grow what people want to see about it. So in regards to those of you who aren't familiar with the DNC, which was here in 2012, which was only a few years ago, hey, it was a great impact. We had $164 million that came to Charlotte. 91 million of that was directly related to just the Charlotte area. But really, what really comes with the national conventions is we get an influx of visitors, right? So a lot of visitors coming through our international airport that we have here in Charlotte. And with that, a lot of different things can go on, right? So it certainly impacts how business is run, and it impacts how traffic is run. But also, we're the national spotlight. It's our turn to shine and have that so to speak, Southern hospitality and welcoming our new friends and neighbors to our city for this national convention, which highlights Charlotte's success. With that, what we have coming up is obviously the Republican National Convention, which is next to August, which is going to be here before we know it, right? So a lot of things going on. What our leaders here in Charlotte like to showcase is, hey, this is Charlotte. This is why Charlotte is such a great city to live or work or invest in regards to business or your family. So we're here at Punch Alert, and the citizens of Charlotte are very much ready to showcase our city again in front of the national spotlight, which helps us show off a little bit in respects, right? So with that, for those who have interest in learning more about the host committee, if you're looking to get engaged, PunchAlert is not affiliated anyway with the Charlotte Host Committee, but we do support their efforts. They are a nonprofit group here in Charlotte that's in charge of hosting this, and they are an economic development group that's nonprofit, right? And they explicitly say that there is no political affiliation. So again, this is really for the economic development benefits of Charlotte for our businesses and our citizens. So if you have interest, if you're a vendor or if you're a business, we recommend reaching out to them. However, we know that there are other organizations out there in Charlotte. However, this is the one that's been earmarked as really kind of the core group to reach out to. With that, what we're talking about here today is really trying to give you 5 things to prepare for. What are the things that you would need to prepare for in regards to these types of events, right? And it's really making sure that you're having these discussions within your business, but also making sure that you're planning these environments and you're prepared, right? So that's where we hope that PunchAlert can give you those resources and knowledge so that you can kind of kickstart these ideas. Again, we're a year away, but things will happen fast. It'll be here before we know it. And now is really the time to prepare for what's going on. So, people say, hey, why? Why do I have to prepare for these types of things? Well, Charlotte is a very growing city, and a lot of this is going to be dynamically. A lot of the businesses that are going to be very impacted are the ones that are in the center city, which is within the 277 Interbelt. So, specifically, that's because that's where a lot of these events are going to be hosted, right? People are going to be staying from out of town, so there's going to be a lot of outsiders. One of the things that we want to share is, hey, the thing with these national events, whether it's the DNC or the RNC, they typically bring protesters, right? It's just one of those things. The RNC in New York City in 2004, they had to, there were some arrests made to the tone of 1,800 protesters, and it took the city of New York about 10 years to pay out close to $18 million. So there are real costs that can be associated with these events. But again, we're just here to provide awareness, and we know that on the business side of things, just from dealing with our clients, a lot of times when people are preparing for these things, where do these budgets come from? Well, why do we need to be prepared, right? And having these facts behind you can help support that. Also, in 1968, the Democratic National Convention in Chicago had similar protests and similar issues. So it's not just the RNC or the DNC. It's the national conventions. They definitely attract protesters, and certainly that can be that can create incidents, and that can engage certain safety, right, for you and your business. With that also is really what we see a lot with our customers is emergencies, right? Incidents can turn into emergencies, but as you know, and a lot of folks know, right, and especially if you're a first responder, those first critical few steps in any emergency, whether you're a doctor, you're a nurse, you're a paramedic, you're a firefighter, you're law enforcement, whatever it is, those first few seconds are super critical in any emergency, right? As you as your due diligence for your employees and your staff. Maybe you have guests and visitors or customers who are on your property. If you're in retail, or if you're a large business and maybe you have a lot of different visitors visiting and customers, it is your responsibility, right, as the business, your due diligence, to make sure that people are safe, right? Just from talking with some of our customers and folks who we are in talks with, who are interested in some of the PunchAlert things that we offer, what they're talking about is, with the national conventions, they actually have an influx of customers and prospects that will come into their facilities just because of the timing of these conventions. And typically it's high profile, right? Very high profile folks who are visiting. So from a business perspective, we understand that could be very, very critical to your business's success in the short term and long term, right? Is making sure that those guests and those customers have the right experience, and that interruptions are handled appropriately, and that your business is prepared. So another thing that we see that businesses are really concerned with is medical emergencies, right? So as you may know, statistically out there, the first 6 minutes for a cardiac arrest are critical, right? Making sure that your folks and your staff and your visitors have access to emergency facilities. On average, the ambulance response within the United States is 7 minutes. However, when you have these events, right, staffing might be different within the city, and that might change response based on redirection of certain events, right? So it's super important to make sure if there's any usually these medical experiences are unexpected, right? Is how quickly can you respond, right? And we are talking about a lot of work environments, right? So, you are dealing with the stresses of your day-to-day work and your employees, right? Where, hey, statistically, you're seeing 58% of stress is, related to work. So again, how are our clients responding to medical emergencies? Those are the talks that we're engaged with a lot with our clients, right? Hey, these are very top of mind as you're thinking about your emergency action plan or a critical event management. So what we're seeing there too is, right, there's a lot of different priorities out there, but really to highlight the three big emergency response and incident responses that we're seeing people, hey, what do we need to prepare for, is what is the emergency, right? Hey, if there's a medical emergency, how are we going to respond to that? And then, top of mind, right, is unfortunately workplace violence. That can be physical or it can actually be verbal as well. There are certain industries, specifically if you want to highlight healthcare, are more susceptible to violence, workplace violence than others. And that's based on the research that we've done here at PunchAlert, through the source that you'll see here with NPR, but also we follow and track OSHA, which is the governing body for the United States Department of Labor, which every business is under OSHA standards throughout their city and state, right? It's a federal organization. So we're just going by those guidelines of, hey, what is our due diligence as a business to our employees and our staff, right? Just making sure that you have those priorities. What are some of the costs that you're going to see, right? Is, obviously legal fees, right? There's legal fees on the business's side, but there's also, if there's any lawsuits, those types of things do come up and they can be very significant for how a jury looks at things. You're also talking about hospital, it might not be a physical injury. It could be, emotional and stress type of injuries as well, right? So when you're thinking about hospital bills, it's not just maybe the hospital, but it can be, healthcare related, right? But also what we're seeing out there statistically, right, is, these type of events can create turnover within the business, right? So, but there's also those indirect costs of, hey, how does this impact your business? Especially for those folks who are a little bit more public facing, right? If they have customers or members who are on site, right? That can be a negative cost. So for instance, we're fortunate to have the YMCA of Charlotte as a customer, and they use PunchAlert, but really what they're talking about is the reason why part of their emergency response plan is making sure that their impact indirectly is no negative publicity, right? If anything happens, somebody gets injured, there's some sort of environment, right? They're a large organization. They want to make sure that they minimize that risk, right? So word travels fast, and typically it's out there before your team might be able to react to it due to social media and so forth. But we're seeing those indirect costs, right, as part of your plan. So here's where we kind of get into those quick 5 tips, right, that we talked about is, hey, what are the 5 things that you at your business should be preparing for, right? So if you go to kind of the legal ends of things, your duty of care is kind of the legal term to it. But really, the layman's term was, hey, how are you going to protect your house, right? How are you going to protect your business, your properties, whether you have one piece of property or have multiple pieces of property? That certainly can impact your guidance on how you prepare, right? But at the end of the day, what does it come down to is, hey, how do we make a safe and secure workplace, right? Making sure that our staff and employees are safe at all times. Number 2, making sure you have an emergency action plan, right? If you don't have one today, that's okay. Certainly, reach out to us. We can certainly help you with that if you need some guidance. However, what things you want to think about is, hey, making sure you're having these discussions, right? Times have changed, right? Here specifically in the Charlotte area, what do you have to prepare for? Think about weather environments. We do have power outages here. We do have, it's the summertime, it's going to be August, right? So with having this many visitors, power is going to be at, certainly at full stress. It being August, it could be very hot. So, air conditioning units are on. But again, think about, how would you prepare and if there is a power outage, right? But you might have traffic and events to navigate through during that time. But also, making sure you plan. But also, the most biggest thing, right, is testing. Just like you would a fire drill, how are you testing through these things to make sure that your staff, your employees, your administrators, all those folks that are engaged have that, so to speak, muscle memory built in, so that if something does come up, they don't have to think about it, right? So those are really the things that you want to think about when, our customers are asking us, hey, what do we do with action plans, right? How do we do that? Number three, most popular topic that we see is really what businesses want to do, and the leadership there and the safety and security is, how do we empower our people, right? Making sure if our people are empowered, things tend to go a lot smoother, right? And there's less chaos and less decision making that these folks have to have. So really what that comes from is the leadership. Typically that's the senior leadership within your organization, is their commitment to empowering your people. We understand that's a culture thing, right? That's the culture of your business, and the leadership of your business is where we're seeing that being top of mind, but also enabling that to your first responders and your employees and staff, right? Making that a whole team of awareness and preparedness of empowering your people. Number four, the most common thing that we see, right, is, hey, how do we make sure that we're communicating effectively? There's a lot of different tools out there. There's a lot of different things, right? But how do businesses communicate effectively when these emergencies come up? Because as the business, as the first responders, you want to make sure you have influence, right? You want to make sure that your first responders are able to respond as fast and quickly as they can under the guidelines that they've been prepared for. But also there's unexpected consequences as well. There's certain unknowns that your first responders and your administrators are going to need to make timeful decisions, right? Again, going back to medical issues, you have a certain amount of time if there's a fire, right? If there's a power outage, you've got to get if you're in the food industry and you need to make sure that your food is prepared and that those generators are kicking on. So again, how are you going to prepare that, be prepared and create influence within your organization, but also that influence dovetails into awareness, right? Is making sure that your staff is aware. If they're not used to these drills and used to an emergency plan, you just have to be prepared, right? And it comes down to risk, right? So preparedness, what does that mean? It's the risk of the business. These are the things that you and your organization are going to have to think about as you go through your planning. And number five, last and foremost, is critical event management. So if you're in the safety and emergency field, this is a very common practice, is preparing for that critical event management and mapping those out. But you certainly want to have a unified plan, right? Again, if you go back to the simplest of terms, what would you do and what would your business do in the case of a fire drill? Is that unified? How are people getting out of the building? How are you notified? How are you notifying everybody that everybody's safe, right? So again, simple little things like that can help you, but also with the advent of people going into businesses, as there's a fire drill, you don't want people going into your business due to workplace violence and other things that we're seeing out there just in the culture of today's America, right? But also, how do you distribute these critical events, right? Sometimes you do not want to let certain folks know because you want to check out that situation to make sure it's not a false positive. Hey, yeah, somebody smelled smoke in the building, but that smoke was coming from downstairs, or maybe there was an outside vehicle that was causing that, or hey, somebody had burnt popcorn or burnt something in a microwave on a separate floor, right? As you smell smoke, but how does that get distributed to make sure people feel okay that, hey, that was a false alarm? But it really comes down to, right, is how do you focus on that security? So what we see trending out there from a PunchAlert perspective is, look, there's a lot of great systems out there that a lot of folks are using. However, today what we're seeing is, with the advent of software as a service, there's a lot of different tools out there that people are working through, and how do they get all of these types of core systems integrated? So what we're seeing today is the larger enterprises that are using ServiceNow and Workday and UtiliPro, what they're leveraging is, hey, they want to make this emergency response part of their day-to-day operation, right? Making sure that, hey, we need to change the batteries and the smoke detectors. We need to make sure there's a ticket open and that's been taken care of, right? We need to make sure that we've done our fire drill and that's done to compliance and that we're OSHA compliant, right? So again, a lot of these things help your business stay in compliance, but it also, it provides your business with that business process that you can manage your day-to-day and be efficient. And again, going back to that core influence of keeping your employees safe and protecting your house, we know there's a lot of great systems like this that can help you automate your business. But really, what we're seeing out there is, what if you could, enact your emergency plan on demand, right, with a simple, touch of a button? So that's what we're doing here at PunchAlert. Is we're really that platform for folks that want to, enact an emergency plan on demand. So here's a screenshot of our app that, majority of our customers are using this as an app on their phone. However, we do have a desktop version as well, but it's as simple as pressing this red button that you have an emergency, right? And this ties in directly to your administrators and your first responders, giving you the opportunity to really enact your emergency plan on demand. So how nice is that, right? So as you see over here to the left, there's a screenshot of, hey, it's going to automatically call 911. We know that's inherent in everybody's emergency action plan, right? However, what we're seeing too is there might be an emergency where you're not able to speak. Maybe it's due to the environment that you're at, or maybe something's going on disruptive that you need to make a text as opposed to making a phone call. So, but you also see here is we have the Morrison YMCA, which is a Charlotte branch. If you have multiple branches, you can actually distribute emergency action plans on demand to your different branches. So real nice thing for your first responders, but also maybe that's different floors within your building, right? Maybe you've got folks on a couple floors in one building, but maybe they're in another building as well, right? We do see that in the Charlotte region, where folks do have multiple buildings within the city limits. Here in the middle, really just is what we're seeing is folks are like, maybe it's not just everyday emergencies, it's incidents, right? So dangerous animals. We've had clients say, hey, there's this random dog on our property. We've even had pictures of snakes. They're not sure if it was poisonous or not. Charlotte had a whole bunch of rain this year, and I know personally in my yard we had several snakes come through our yard, and there are poisonous snakes here in Charlotte. So certainly there's a lot of different things here that you can use PunchAlert for. That really just kind of, again, goes back to that culture of safety, right? Making sure that your staff and folks are safe. And then again, with our service, we're able to distribute announcements. Hey, here are some of the announcements that you can see, that you can deliver to your employees, letting them know that, hey, guess what? The RNC is having an event on South Tryon. We need to make sure that people are using the 3rd Street parking garage, right? That might be something that comes up. We even have a client here in town, the Charlotte Hornets. There was a water main break, and they had to distribute announcements to their staff and employees that, hey, do not use this certain parking deck because there's a water main break. So, we're seeing it with folks using this in their day culture of using these types of things, right? To post their emergencies, tips, and announcements. With that, we also have our first responders, and this is where I'd like to incorporate Ashley. If you're able to jump on and talk, but again, this is something that we've built over time with the response of our customers. We've actually done several upgrades to the PunchAlert platform that help our customers respond quicker and faster. So Ashley, would you like to shed some light on this this slide and how a first responder would respond to a fire?
Yeah, so thank you so much. What I would like to say about this is the PunchAlert platform will integrate all of your technology that you already have in place, and it leverages the smartphones, which are mostly in the palm of every single hand these days. And the other thing that I will point out is this communication that you see here is internal for your organization, and you have complete control over it. So if somebody does report an emergency on your campus, you are able to communicate with your internal responder team, with your safety team, your incident management team, whoever that may be, in a controlled environment. You do have the opportunity to share with additional user groups as you see fit. So if you do need to share that there is a fire in the lobby with the rest of your employees, you can do so. If you needed to share, if you felt the need to share it with the general public to make them aware so that they know not to come to your campus or the appropriate evacuation procedure for your organization, you do have the ability to share that information as well. So this is just highlighting some of the additional capabilities of notifying roles, sending updates. You can lock down your facility with an integration through your access control system. You can see who's checked in on your property so that you know who is there, who you need to worry about, and who you don't necessarily need to worry about because they're located off campus. So this just gives you management of an incident from the palm of your hands. All of this you can do from a web console as well if you have a security staff sitting behind a desk managing the incident in your surveillance room, let's just say. So you do have that ability as well, but it's kind of nice to have it on the mobile platform and be able to manage things on the go.
Yeah, because your first responders are going to be on site, right? They're not going to be carrying their PC with them as they're investigating this, but also, you might have managers that are responsible for their team, right? Or you have a floor manager, right? So, hey, again, any certain incident, how are you reporting that? How are you checking out before you might need to do a mass notification for that floor or for those folks to, take the necessary precautions in an emergency. So, again, here at the very bottom, you can see this looks exactly like your cell phone, your smartphone today, right? So it's nothing that we've changed. We've mirrored that look on purpose so that there's just easy integration. A lot of our clients really like here down the bottom of the left is, you can take a picture where there's a microphone. Let's say there was, a suspicious person that you had seen, you couldn't take a picture, but you wanted to say something like, hey, this person is, 6'3" and they were wearing a gray jacket, right? You just might have to say something quick, right? That you wanted to alert the folks, or hey, first floor is fine, I'm going to the second floor. So again, this gives you that capability to do that. And then you even have the phone button here where you can actually, phone in to those folks and have a phone conversation. So again, we've really, with the help of our customers, we've really kind of, made this as easy as possible, giving you that, that punch alert, that one quick punch, right, on your smartphone to do what you need to do instantly to give your staff and your team the ability to respond in that, critical event management. What we're also seeing too, right, is in fires, is, hey, are you okay? Are you not okay? We certainly see a lot of this great with our customers who are in education. This is certainly a script they're using all the time with all of their students. However, we don't see a lot of this with businesses. However, how do you know that everybody got out okay, right? So this is a great tool for businesses, right? As, hey, the simple thing as a fire is making sure that your management has their team offsite or wherever they need to be, that they are all okay. Again, it goes back to, your duty of care as a business, that responsibility of your business to make sure that folks are, that's an OSHA compliant thing, right? With just as simply as a fire drill. Again, we have here on a bomb threat, just because we do deal with education, and education typically has those more of those types of threats. However, we know that businesses aren't immune to that as well. So there might be something there. But also what we're seeing is people that are in multiple, in buildings that have multiple floors, there might be a threat on a different floor. It might not even be your business. So, or it might be below you, right? It's how do you orchestrate as a business when there's multiple things happening on different floors? That can be a fire, it can be a bomb threat. Those certain things is how are you being alerted, knowing that, hey, we might need to lock down our office until the threat has subsided. So, those things too, as you have people that are in multi-tenant buildings, is, hey, how do we keep people safe? You might feel safe that, hey, we have our situation handled, but there are threats and risk of your neighbors as well, right? So what that comes down to is status and role. Ashley, would you like to talk about that? I know this is something that our clients have brought up as something that they really wanted PunchAlert to engage with.
So especially during these critical events, right, where you have large amounts of folks on your campus, this can come in very, very handy. So you, at one glance, can see who is checked in on your property, and then drill down by their status, which could be I'm okay, I'm not okay, or I'm off property, which can give you a quick snapshot of who you need to get to quickly. You can drill down to their profile and you can locate them within your building. Mike talked about them being able to report floors and things like that. Our platform allows for Bluetooth beacons and other Wi-Fi access points that an organization can set up ahead of time, so that when you do drill down into their profile, you can actually see, Ashley Davis is on its second floor, cafeteria, or whatever you've labeled it as, so exactly where within the building they are located. And then, of course, you can drill down by role as well. So if you're looking for certain individuals on the leadership team or the incident management team, maintenance, things like that, you can find them quickly.
Yeah, that's super important. What we see too, also with very large organizations, Fortune 500s, wherever their senior team might be, sometimes they have security detail that's private to them, right? Making sure that folks are in a safe environment, because how critical their role is to the organization, right? So these are great things that we're seeing in talks with customers, right? Is, hey, these are the things that they're thinking about, right? As, hey, sometimes the senior leadership team has different protocols, so they're using that, but you might have other staff that needs to respond immediately, but you also might have critical inventory on staff. It could be food, other items that are critical, or hey, maybe it's highly flammable, that, hey, we need to make sure that these are prioritized within our roles. I need to know exactly if they are okay or not okay, just to go down that your protocol as you're talking through that. Again, going to everyday type of incidents, right? Typically in the Carolinas, we see power outages, right? And again, we talked a little bit earlier, not just that, but folks use our tool day to day, and the biggest showcase of that would be the YMCA. There's just a lot of different things that your business can use this day to day. Again, it helps with culture, right? And it helps people be safe. But again, for those companies that are highly motivated by those types of things, that's where we see them employing PunchAlert throughout their business. We talked a little bit more about announcements, but again, in the schools we see announcements because they have events that are outside. But again, depending on how you are notifying, you can use PunchAlert as a mass communication tool, right? So as you see here on the left, you can send it out to your email group, your text group. You can make an automated call, and you can use social media. So again, you might use some of that or all of that, but again, this tool actually kind of, as people are looking for their emergency response on all the different systems, there's a lot of things that we can tie into because we have an open API that you can really use this platform for as much as you want, and maybe even eliminate some of your legacy systems as well as what we're seeing with clients. So at the end of the day, right, is, people also like announcements. We had a client here in town where they had a tornado come through, and they had to actually get people into a certain building at a certain time, and not everybody was notified. So they were able to use PunchAlert, which makes a blaring noise, louder than your alarm clock, almost to the tone of your smoke detector. So it's very pertinent, and people know it is on, and it's time to look at your phone to figure out what's going on. That, text doesn't do that today because their text might be on mute, but also email doesn't do that today as well, right? So that's where people are seeing a lot of advantage, using our alerts that ties into all this. So, again, we talked about planning, right? There's a lot of things that go into your planning. We're not going to talk about all of these, but again, as you're formulating your plan, right, is, hey, what are the things that we need to be prepared for the RNC? These are the things, this is kind of the flow, right, of those communications. And with our customers, this is the talk track that we have, because these are all the gates that you have to go through to make sure that you have everything aligned. And nice with PunchAlert is, hey, the touch of a button, this ties all of that in. So depending on where you're at, if you're just in the discovery phase, hey, I'd like to learn more about that, we'd certainly love to talk to you and see how we can potentially help. If you're a little bit more down the road, hey, we already have these, but we want to be able to tie this in, certainly we could talk to you about that as well. But again, this is a very consultative approach in regards to PunchAlert with all of our clients, because it's super critical to the success of their environment and saving lives and the well-being, but also the culture of their business. So that's the nice thing about our business, is that we are very consultative, and we're here to help you solve those problems. And Ashley, as she will share with you, we have a lot of great customers that are willing to share. So we do have resources and templates that we could potentially share with you. 911, what are some of the important things there is, hey, 1 minute can save 10,000 lives. So just think about that again, going back to your business case, to your senior team or to your leadership team, is, hey, why is this so important, right? Again, critical event management, you've only got a short amount of time to save people's lives, and making sure that 911 is here. So one of the benefits of PunchAlert is our 911 Plus. We actually can get down to GPS coordinates of where you're at. So specifically for folks who have large pieces of property, that's very critical in regards to your emergency response and knowing where that incident has happened or is happening. And then finally, what we have launching is a new product. It's actually a physical panic button. So for those customers that don't, maybe don't have access or don't want to use a smartphone, you can actually use a physical panic button that we have. The nice thing with this is we've developed it for our friends at the YMCA, where lifeguards can jump in the water and it's water activated. So pretty neat stuff. So again, this panic button is something that will be coming out in 2020. If you do have pools in that environment, great. We'd love to chat with you. But you'll see here that this is a big speaker. You can actually have this in a physical environment where it can make announcements as well, and you can use this as a physical panic button where you press it and display it. So again, this is a wearable panic button that we're just getting feedback from our clients. Here's a little bit a blown up the description of the speaker and how it can be wall mounted. Here you can see it can be worn as a watch, right, as a lifeguard, but it is a wearable, right? And then, hey, for folks that might want to make it a little bit more non-discreet, you might want to wear this on your person. You can clip it onto a belt, or you might want to wear it as a lanyard underneath a shirt or a blouse. So again, for those folks that want to make their panic button a little bit more discreet, you can use that. So we're super excited about that. And then when it comes to testimonials, I'll pass the mic back over to Ashley. Ashley, would you like to share some of our customer testimonials? Again, you being the bridge there for our customers and our community.
Yeah, so one of the things I hear a lot is, and kind of speaks to it right here, PunchAlert was a lifesaver during a storm and power outage when everything else failed. Things that you need to consider, Wi-Fi going down or cellular service going out, or just your email system or your phone line going down. That was something that she had experienced, and luckily she had PunchAlert and she had it set up, and her employees were trained and ready to go. So they knew exactly, they felt like nothing skipped a beat, right? Even though those other systems that they had counted on for so long, were not in place any longer because of a technology issue. They were, and obviously because of the storm, but they were able to, utilize PunchAlert and keep communication streamlined. And like I said, nothing skipped a beat. And then, as with Brian Warren, Director of Security at Carolina's Healthcare System, now known as Atrium, they actually were able, they had a huge situation happen with a bomb threat. And typically, when they've had to deal with those situations in the past, like he said, it would have taken hours, which is just unacceptable in the world that we live in. And so for him to be able to use the PunchAlert platform and resolve a bomb threat in minutes, he was blown away. So those are just some of the testimonials that I hear from our customers, but there are so many more that have the opportunity to use the platform on a daily basis. Our YMCAs, as you can see here with Kim and with Cameron, they love the PunchAlert platform because they have a very intricate organization that has many different branches. And for them, in their positions, they're on the go a lot of the time, and they're not on campus, and they want to be able to be there for their employees and for their staff to help them feel safe, even when they're off campus dealing with business in other areas. So for them, it's super important to have the mobile portion of the platform. Again, as you can see here, they both used it in different situations, but reporting, tracking, are just some of the features of the platform that as an organization, it's important during those critical incidents to be able to have the record of the incident and not to have to fill out a paper report after the fact. So just some of the things that we've heard from our customers that are exciting experiences for them that have helped them, take a lot of stress off of themselves, which is what I like to hear.
Yeah, and you talk about reporting, right? So, we had a customer that, was in education. Somebody wrecked a vehicle on property. Fortunately, their security staff was, trained and used PunchAlert, was able to respond to the accident, dispatch the school nurse appropriately. But what happened a few months after the incident? Litigation comes, right? People, the ambulance chasing lawyers came out in this incident. And fortunately for that education system, they had a report, and they did, there was no negligence. They were able to be on site within seconds of the incident. And then, hey, the school nurse was dispatched and was on site within 2 minutes. So again, your team's trained and prepared for emergencies, and you're using this tool. It comes down to negligence, right? There's a lot of different things that litigation is going to look at, and juries are going to, they're going to be swayed. But you also talk about, Cleveland County Family YMCA with the active shooter. I think that's a great representation of the RNC, of just outside threats that your business, what we see from some customers is that, hey, we feel that, hey, we got the situation handled here on site, and we feel great about that from the leadership perspective. But what sometimes leadership doesn't understand is, what are those outside threats that you can't control, right? So perfect example for the RNC, safety awareness is, hey, there are just certain things that are not going to be within your control, and our friends at the YMCA and the Hornets have been part of, is there has been civil protest in Charlotte where protesters are going up and down different streets, and employees want to know, is it safe for me to leave work? Is it safe for me to come into work? So how are you going to notify somebody when they're in their car? They're not going to be reading an email, right? Or mass text. They might have their mass text on silent, right? But with PunchAlert, it's going to alert them, again, just like a smoke detector or a very loud alarm clock, to let your staff and folks know this is an emergency. You need to read this now. So that's what we're seeing. Anything else there that you'd like to highlight, Ashley?
Nope, that sounds good.
So with that, I'm Mike Shirobi, Vice President of Sales here at Charlotte. At our Charlotte office here with PunchAlert, and just want to say thank you for your time today. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call direct or send me an email. We'd love to chat with you. Again, if you're just in planning stages, discovery, just trying to understand kind of what's out there, we'd love to share with you and talk to you about what we're seeing out there. And then for those of your folks who are actually looking for a tool or a platform to integrate your emergency action plan on demand, we can certainly help you with that. So let us know, and thank you, and have a great day. Thanks, Ashley.
Thanks, Mike.